Today's green list is a diverse list of the top 5 people, teams, and others who I believe are under the most pressure as the playoffs begin. I put Jalen Brunson at number 5. Let me make it very clear. He had a brilliant season, and nothing will change the way the fans view him. But the reality is, he's a 2 seed whose team now is expected to make a deep run, may have to face Joel Embiid in round 1, and Jalen Brunson at his size is going to be expected to carry the load. I can't imagine them winning any game that he isn't brilliant in. That's the definition of pressure. And so I put him on the list. At number 4, I put the Clippers stars. Remember them? These guys are there for one reason and one reason only. There was a moment in time this season where it looked like they might be a really interesting pick in the West. That feels like a long time ago. But they have home court advantage in round 1. They've got a lot of guys with a lot to prove. We know what Kawhi's history is in the playoffs. We know what James Harden's history is in the playoffs. Let's keep a close eye on them. Meanwhile, at number 3, I'm putting Kevin Durant. This team played its way out of the play-in. Good for them. But the reality is, he didn't get to Phoenix. He didn't orchestrate his way to Phoenix with that collection, particularly Devin Booker, to try and make the playoffs. Kevin Durant could be living in a world where James Harden is still playing when the first round is over, and Kyrie Irving is still playing when the first round is over, and he's watching. That could be a major problem. In my opinion, it's worth keeping an eye on. And number 2, I put Doc Rivers. I know you could choose a variety of different people from the cast of characters in Milwaukee, but one way or another, I went with Doc because of the circumstances under which he came in. Leaving the ABC job as he did, so much attention, stepping right into the middle of it to make this team better. Instead, he's made it worse. And the reality is, if they get knocked out in round 1, I think a lot of fingers get pointed at him. And then finally, the Boston Celtics are number 1. I can't remember a time when a team went into the playoffs as prohibitive a favorite to at least make the finals as this one is. But we know the history of disappointment of this group. Should they get picked off anywhere along the way before getting to the finals, it will be about as significant a disappointment as we have seen in the NBA playoffs in a long time, and that adds up to a lot of pressure on all of their stars. So let me bring Legs and Allen into the conversation and see what you think. Timmy Legler, go.
All right, quickly. Love this one. Absolutely 100% nailed it. And as far as Brunson's concerned, I think there's pressure to get out of the first or second round.
Right.
To win it all, no, because there's a much better team in front of him in Eastern Conference.
No, of course.
I don't know if I feel that as much about Brunson.
Here's the reason I say Brunson. Tell me that they're going to win a single game in any series that he doesn't play brilliantly.
No, I agree. Listen, there's
no one has more on them to carry their team, and he's just not the kind of player. What is he, 6'1"? I mean, realistically speaking, we want him shooting threes. Like this is not a guy who has a history of taking teams deep into the playoffs.
I think he has arrived on the scene to such an extent that he needs to continue this through postseason and win a series at least. So I agree from that extent. The middle 3, I think there's a guy in Milwaukee that's got much more pressure on him than Doc, and it's Damian Lillard. You brought Damian Lillard in here to help Giannis win a championship. If you've got those 2 guys on a team, it's championship is expectation. If not, it is a failure, and they are terrible in close games. So, Dame time, he's going to be doing that. But you know what? The bottom line is they have not been good in pressure situations. Lillard has to be the guy to raise his level of play in the postseason to help Giannis, even though, again, Boston is still in front of them. So I think Lillard's got more pressure on him than Doc Rivers. I don't think anybody's got a lot of expectations, Allen, on these 2 teams. I don't think Durant and the Clipper stars have as much on them.
If I could break this up, I'll tell you, this one right here, replace this with Frank Vogel, because he's going to lose his job if they don't get out of the first round. If they don't make a run, the coach loses his job. Kevin Durant stays where he is.
I understand that Kevin Durant stays where he is. But, Allen, he woke up one morning and decided he didn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore after everything that organization went through and everything that they did for him. He goes to Phoenix, where they put together a super team. All we talked about all during the offseason was how great. Oh, stand by.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andraya Carter has entered the room. This is a Stephen A. Smith-esque entrance.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
List is interesting. Celtics, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes.
Doc was put in a sticky situation. I don't know what anyone expected him to do with the team that was already struggling. They were already struggling.
Stand by, if I may.
Go ahead.
He didn't get put in anything. He put himself in this situation. No one said, Doc, you must leave Mike Breen and Doris Burke to go coach Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. And if they get knocked out in round 1, that's going to be a very tough look to get past.
Agree there. I still don't think he's second. I don't think Jalen Brunson has any pressure. They have the 4th best record since January 1st because of him.
Right.
Listen, at Tennessee, I know it's college athletics. At Tennessee, when you walk out to go into a game, you tap this thing that says, I gave my all, I will give my all for Tennessee. Jalen Brunson has given his all for the Knicks. That's all he can do. What more do you expect of him?
I agree with that. And as I said here a minute ago, you were racing nicely enough to run out here and be ready to join us early. It's a different kind of pressure. He's accomplished enough to make himself an NBA star. The problem is, I don't think they win a single game in the playoffs in which he isn't the best player on the floor. And that's a lot of pressure, especially for a guy who has no postseason history of significance.
But what he's done all year.
But he's not going to get crushed if he doesn't do that.
Fair enough.
That's my
pressure comes in a lot of different forms. If they get knocked out in the first round by Philly, it will be a huge disappointing way to cap off what has been a brilliant season. I'm not disagreeing with the point you're making. I'm just making a different one.
He could put up 40 and they could still lose.
By the way, I have zero doubt he's going to be sensational. In that series, in any series that he goes beyond that. By the way, one last thing. I think there's one big omission from this list. Kyrie Irving has to be on this list somewhere.
Yes.
Kyrie Irving has to be on this list.
Because
we know about Luka. Luka's done things in the postseason already, practically by himself. Kyrie Irving has to be special for that team to make a legitimate run at the West, and I think they're capable of doing that. So there's more focus on Kyrie Irving, because I know what Luka's about to do. Is Kyrie Irving going to show up every night and be great in late games and take pressure off Luka?
And nobody cares about the Clippers, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, someone needs to care about the Clippers.
You know what? You think there's more pressure on Phoenix, even though KD barely played last season. They just put this group together. Then the Clippers? The Clippers have been trying to do this since when? 2019 is when Kawhi and PG joined together?
Pressure on the Clippers is expectations.
Expectations are tempered.
There's 5 people in the building. Like, nobody's really
Here's the pressure that's on KD. I am agreeing with something Legs has been telling. I think we're going to see Kyrie Irving in the Western Conference Finals. And if Kyrie Irving is in the Western Conference Finals and KD is sitting home watching like the rest of us, I think that's a difficult one for him.
We'll talk about this in the next hour, but the Timberwolves are missing from this list.
NBA